Anush Babajanyan is a photojournalist. She's the kind of photojournalist that doesn't like to talk much about herself, but about the people she photographs. The kind of photographer who cares about others. She was in Karabakh when the war erupted between Azerbaijan and Armenia. She was also present in Karabakh way before, during the 4-day April War in 2016, after the conflict in peacetime, and she keeps going to Karabakh so that the land and its people are never forgotten. We met with Anush as she works on her new book called A Troubled Home about her last 5 years in Karabakh.
Before the 2020 war, there wasn't a lot of attention to the situation here in Artsakh. There really wasn't enough media coverage. And I really thought that this was important. It was important for me to keep returning. And I began to work there in 2016 during the 4-day war. So I photographed soldiers in Martakert, for example, in their trench. I photographed in the military cemetery, women as well, and the volunteers. There are some happy moments as well, just life as it is. One of the pictures that I tend to look at a lot is an image from the village Metztager in Hadrut, and I photographed there in February 2020, before the war. So I worked by the school in Metztager, and right next to the school there's an airplane that belonged to a marshal of World War II, Marshal Khudyakov. And there were children playing around that airplane, running around. This photograph, I always think of it as something a little more lively, and talking to soldiers in the aftermath is, of course it's heavy, but it is possible, and you know that you're happy to see that they are alive. But I also photograph at the cemeteries, at Yerabalur in Yerevan and at the military cemetery in Stepanakert. I photographed the burial of a soldier who was killed during the war, but he was buried in Taghavart. So as half of Taghavart fell under the control of Azerbaijan, they brought the bodies of soldiers to the cemetery in Stepanakert. And so this family, parents were burying their son for the second time. Showing the tragedy is not always easy, because you have to approach it in a very sensitive and a respectful way to the people who you are photographing. In all of us, and in myself, and in many people, not in soldiers, but in all of us, and in myself, I see the guilt because of losing the war. This feeling of guilt comes from every small thing that we didn't do or that we did. You know, each of us feels it. It's really not easy to take pictures of actual tragedy. You know, every time I'm in a situation that's painful, I feel pain, I cry. It's like that. You can't help. I can't help it, for sure. The best and the only thing that I can do is approach this any such situation with the deepest possible level of humility, very carefully, trying to understand whether the people involved in this situation are okay with your presence there. But being sensitive is highly important for all of us as journalists. I really want to show Nagorno-Karabakh from a perspective of not only conflict, but also everyday life. I hope for for the reader, or rather the person who's looking through these pages, because it's a photography book, to really feel and understand what it is like to live in Artsakh, what it is like for any Armenian to be in this land, in this situation of constant conflict, of unending uncertainty, even in relatively peaceful times. And I thought it was important for people to have, for Armenians of diaspora, for people internationally, for Armenians of Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh, to be able to have this book as a visual document of what this place is like now, what it was like in 2016 and now, and in the aftermath of the war, and in more peaceful times. If I didn't do it, these images would just stay in the archive and nothing would happen.